Welcome to the Offsides Podcast, Episode 7. Episode 7.
Yeah, we're absolutely crushing episodes right now.
What's our topic today?
We're going to do off-season training, the do's and don'ts, and embracing the grind.
All right, let's get into it. We have a special guest today, Kevin Coyle. He grew up playing hockey in West Haven. He then went on to play college hockey for Springfield College and their club team. He received his bachelor's degree in applied exercise science with a concentration in sports performance. As a sports performance and fitness coach, he has completed 3 internships, sharing time in the college and private sector. Kevin is an NCCA certified strength and conditioning coach. Please welcome Kevin Coyle.
Thank you for having me, Brody. Thank you for having me, Pete.
Yeah, man, it's good to have you here too. And I think this topic is really important. You know, to getting out of tryout season, and kids are now, finishing school. The summer months are coming ahead of us, and everybody needs a plan. And I think more importantly, kids have goals, and they want to figure out how to shape those goals, or certainly close the gap between their potential and the performance. And I know as a coach and you as a player, you have a lot of questions on like, how do I get there? So we just felt it'd be very timely as kids are really kind of, looking towards next season already, but also have a nice gap of, 3 months or so. You got to really dig in. And Kevin, we couldn't think of anybody else better than you to come in and really work to show the way for these guys.
Awesome, thank you. Likewise, looking forward to the off season. A lot of changes are going to be made, and the energy and what happens in the weight room in the off season different than the in season. But we're looking forward to a new group of kids and getting them ready for the in season.
Yeah, cool. And I know Brody gave you a nice introduction, but if you wouldn't mind, just share a little bit more about yourself too.
Absolutely. Born and raised in West Haven, Connecticut. Grew up playing for the town, playing for the high school, have a lot of pride. Putting the Blue Devil on. Went to Springfield College. Decided what my major was going to be. I spent 2 years undecided, but really grew a love for this field. Was accepted into the program. Completed an internship with the University of Massachusetts Amherst football. Phenomenal experience being in a Division I weight room. Taught me a lot. My spring semester of my senior year, I went to Denver, Colorado for an internship at Ethos, Colorado. Again, phenomenal experience. Way different than UMass, but again, equally as insightful. I did so well that the owner, John, brought me back as a full-time coach, and I spent my time there till coronavirus hit. And then I drove myself back home July of 2020. Spent a few months in the summertime, just kind of regather myself. And then I found MB Sports Training October 1st of 2021, and I've been there ever since.
That's great.
That's an awesome story.
Yeah, incredible background too. Working with obviously all different levels of athletes, and Mike Bouchard, so MBST, in sports training here in Connecticut, out in Northford. One of the top facilities, certainly, our guys train there.
Yeah, I train with Kevin, so it's we go back and forth. He's just an awesome guy. He pushes me to do my best every single day, and push that weight to my limit, and he's just a good guy to walk into the building and just I'm ready to work hard today, and Kevin's just that kind of guy.
Yeah, I mean, not to pump your tires, but Michael is, he's one of the figureheads in Connecticut for strength and conditioning. And I know for us, and certainly the kids too, the dynamic of the team building, the camaraderie, and I really like how much of you guys have really pushed and learned throughout this year, especially. I think it has a lot to do with you too. So again, we appreciate all you do for our kids, but I think the dynamic, the staff, the high energy, the knowledge, education, and then motivating kids too has been special. So it's been great to have you on board too.
Yeah, and being in Northford too, housing multiple teams, and a team like EHA that has the background, that has the kids that come in, they want to work, makes my job easy, but also really enjoyable.
Cool. Let's get into it. Yeah. So we just want to, really dive in. What is your coaching philosophy here with strength and conditioning?
My coaching philosophy is to make it an environment where every athlete that comes in feels comfortable accepting coaching, and I always put them in a place to succeed.
That's awesome. Do you feel like you need a special type of personality, a different persona, kind of walking in every day, with new clients or new athletes, or certainly a new approach?
I think you just gotta want to be there. I always want to be there. I find tremendous value and enjoyment in coming in and helping people reach their goals. Just last night, Brody and I were in the weight room together doing a set of safety bar squats, and Brody did a great job.
Yeah.
And that gives me happiness. And like, seeing Brody get his goals and me being a part of his goals, that's huge. And when Brody's in the ice and he gets that goal and he celebrates, I feel that same emotion, that same passion. And when a client gets their goal, again, like that feeling, it can't be mimicked, and it comes often, and each time it comes, I want the next one.
Yeah.
Well said.
And I think that just leads right into, like the difference between personal strength training and doing everything by yourself, because like we just said, like you have that connection with someone and they're critiquing you and making your form better. And when you're by yourself, you kind of just have a mirror. Like you're not sure what's right and what's wrong. And just, I think just having someone like you just push you every day is just that much better, and trying to accomplish your goals.
Yeah, you can tell you got a nice little following here too. It's great. So I think also the other piece is whether it's in season or off season training, you get into it, and the first, it's just like the honeymoon phase. The first week and a half, 2 weeks, you're like, wow, I love this, and then that kind of that grind sets in. So I think with that, talking about personality, which I think was a great answer. Like how do you motivate these athletes, every day?
Yeah, I think first, like meeting them where they're at. So if we're in the weight room, I would motivate you two differently. And again, Brody's getting ready for his next in-season, so I have a plan structured for him to go the long haul. And we're getting in the beginning of the off-season, so that's different than the end of the off-season. And then my approach, personality-wise and coaching-wise, is different here and then now. So again, like and you asked before, like kids going in and winging it versus having a structured plan. And there's nothing more valuable than having that plan. Yeah. Every kid is looking forward to get better. Every kid wants to get better. Every kid wants to be that guy on the ice next year that is the man. And that just doesn't come by just like going to the gym and kind of winging it. Some kids say, I was in the gym for 4 hours and like I felt great and like this, that, and the other thing. Well, if you're in the gym for 4 hours, like working really hard, I think you might be telling yourself a little bit of lies. Coming into the weight room with a specific plan, having a progression, and having it looked over by somebody who is certified in the field, just invaluable. And that's what I want to give, and I will be giving to kids all summer long.
Yeah. And the other thing too, I think he does a tremendous job, and certainly, Michael and his staff as well, is just being able to motivate a group. So, I mean, I've seen you guys, get around, guy who's got, 325 on his back ready to squat, and he's got, 6 to, 8 or 8 to 10 of his teammates literally rallied around him and screaming and yelling, but for the greater good of him to, beat his number or get his max or whatever the case may be, or even if he fails, they're there, to give a real pat on the back. And I think that, again, that culture, I think is invaluable. Yeah. And it's, that also comes from, the top, motivating your guys to cheer on others.
Yeah. Absolutely. Giving the kids the pieces of the information, wanting like to lead a horse to water. Yeah. So like when the kid's sitting up for that max attempt, that's one small part of the whole training. And like leading up to that point's the hard part. We all see the big numbers on Instagram, like, wow, that looks so great. But the kids with those big numbers have a lot of time and effort that go into the small details. More isn't always better, but better is better. How can you move that weight? How efficient can you be? And again, things that go into the session, like, is the music correct? Is it loud enough? Are we playing like some like slow jazz? Are we playing some good hip hop? Yeah. Some of the kids want to listen to. Sometimes the kids like, hey coach, put this on. If it's okay, put it on. The kids step up a beat. They'll receive coaching better. They'll move better. They're more excited to be there. Yeah. And you want to give the kids the good information, and that information can be well recepted if you give them a little bit of what they want. And I think having that in your mind as a coach is invaluable.
Yeah, it's an awesome environment.
Yeah, awesome.
And then the other piece, how do you feel, or what makes a successful strength and conditioning coach?
Ooh, a loaded question. Yeah. I think just having a background first, and having read literature, having talked to other professionals, and just having an idea of what's out there, what's worked in the past, and then putting it into practice. The first time you do it, like anything, it's not going to be the best, but the more you practice it, the better you're going to get at it. And also having like-minded individuals around you that'll help you get to where you need to be, that'll tell you when you overstepped or when you need to step it up. Having kids in front of you that want to be there, want to be coached by you, and again, like having a set plan, executing that plan, and also not being afraid to deviate from that plan if something comes awry.
Yeah, and it's well said, because it is a loaded question. You went to Springfield College, which is, I think one of the top universities really in the country, exercise science and others, for the education. And I know there's a lot of kids out there that are certainly interested in strength and conditioning. Can you just kind of taking backpedaling back to your education, the steps you took, the passion that you had for strength and conditioning, and then how you kind of took the steps to get certified and everything?
Absolutely. West Haven High hockey player. I had a lot of passion playing, and I wanted to take that next level. So my junior to senior year, I took a big leap and started seeing my own personal trainer, and I got addicted to it very, very fast. And I remember I took half of my allowance, my summertime job, which is $500, and I gave it to the coach there, and he said, "You can come in whenever you want." Wow. And I remember I went there religiously, to the point where he's like, "Kevin, you just gotta stop coming." If I didn't have a ride, I rode my bike there. It was like 20, a little bit less than that, maybe like 17 miles. Rode my bike there, got working in, rode back. And ever since there, I found that love. I went to college.
Unbelievable.
I didn't have the best grades, didn't get in the program right away, but that didn't stop me. I took my first years undecided. I was like, you know what? Maybe it's a hobby. I love it, but maybe a hobby. But then I was like, you know what? They said I can't get in, so I'm going to get in. And so I got in my junior year, and I remember that feeling. And it's kind of like that scoring that big goal. Those feelings are what it's all about. And then when I was at Springfield, they always said, you don't know how important it is being at Springfield. You don't know the culture here until you leave. And then I left, and I'm like, whoa. And what I mean by that, so I would connect with other people on like LinkedIn, go have a conversation, go to a conference, and then talk to others. And like, oh, I went to Springfield College? And I'm like, yeah. And then like, oh, this, that, and the other thing. And I guess now knowing, about 25% of all NFL strength and conditioning coaches are Springfield College alumni. Yeah. And the network is so strong, and I've been connected with others, and they have no problem reaching out, give me resources, and just being just like personable. And that's huge as a alumni.
Yeah, that's phenomenal. Really cool story, too.
Really cool story.
No excuses. We were just chatting on some kids said I didn't have a ride. Well, find your own ride.
Ride a freaking bike if you want to go.
Yeah. I got that bike for $5 at a lawn sale. Shout out to the Stones.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. And then kind of digging a little bit deeper in here, like how important, I know it may sound like a dumb question, but how important is off-season training?
Hugely important. And again, if you want to make that next step, you need to prioritize it. You need to eat, sleep, and breathe it. You need to always be one step prepared. If you want to reach your nutritional goal, if you need to gain weight, you can't be scrambling around last minute deciding what you're going to do. You need to already have it prepared, and you already know your next step, and you need to plan 3 steps, 4 steps in front. Like, we all know meal prepping. It's hugely important. Not a lot of kids do it. It falls by the wayside. It's too hard. I'm not really going to do it. Having a set protocol. It's hard to get in contact with a coach. It costs money. It stinks to go. It's hard to go, and they want to do it. So having a few goals in mind, backtracking, looking up steps to reach those goals, and then acting on those steps. It seems really simple, like laying it out like that, even taking a piece of paper, write it down. Again, it seems simple, but the simple things always usually work.
Yeah, I mean, you're seeing the blue chippers. I mean, tons of the guys in the NHL. Certainly Tom Brady is just kind of taken it to a whole nother level too of, the sleep, the hydration, flexibility. To just have a long career as well too, just as he has. But you're seeing guys, you're talking about money financially and everything. Like their body is their biggest investment. So they have no problem saying, hey, you know what, like financially, if I want to be playing an NHL career for 10 years. I need to take care of my machine. So they see as the off season as such a huge part of their gains. And I think that kids and players, they need to see this and focus, and get with guys like you to have that structured plan, so they can, again, meet their goals and take the next step from the previous season.
And with being in season, the sports volume is usually pretty high, so it's hard to make those good strength gains. And a lot of kids that are younger, that 14 to 18 range, they probably need to get stronger, and then you can't maximize the strength gains with all the in season. But in the off season, don't have that much sports volume, have all that intensity going towards getting stronger, and then there you go.
Yeah.
And when I was an athlete, I actually went to a place called Athletes Performance out in Tempe, Arizona. Mark Verstegen is their head strength coach, and we actually worked out twice a day on a meal plan. And I went from 13-14% body fat to 10, in just about a month, which I think is a lot. And I think I was training my tail off and had other good coaches around me and the nutrition plan, the guidelines, all this stuff. But I think the bigger piece that I started to see was the routine, and the routine of every day, waking up at a certain time, getting to the gym, having the conversations with my strength coach, understanding what my nutrition plan was going to be for that day, for the next day, for the whole week, and not to have anything fall by the wayside, to just kind of become more even laser focused on that and plan, because I just felt that routine was going to make you better too. And I think for your piece, when you see kids come in and you talk a big game, we're going to do this, that, and the other, how important do you feel routine is for kids?
So developing that routine is huge. Having a set goal in mind and then working back from that goal. So if you have a goal of becoming a better athlete, you're probably going to need your sleep. So getting in a routine that I need to go to bed at a certain time. If you need to feel a certain way and I have a certain amount of calories I need to eat, making sure we divvy those down into certain meals and getting those meals in. If I know I need to train, I need to know when I'm going to train, how I'm going to get there, and then what I'm going to be doing. So fitting all that into a day's plan, again, just writing it down and then putting it into action is huge. And a habit is formed in about 2 months' time. And so if that habit becomes permanent, and then it's not like, oh, I have to go to the gym, oh, I have to eat my meal. It becomes automatic, and it becomes automatic. We can now use that time to think about other things. How can I maximize my sleep? Well, I'm gonna wear earplugs and I'm gonna get shades that don't let any light in. I'm gonna buy better groceries. I'm gonna be a better person. So having those things dialed in just makes things a whole lot easier.
Yeah, it's something that I didn't really realize until later on, when things got a lot more serious with your playing, because, when you're, big fish in a small pond, things just come easier to you. And then obviously you get the deep waters, you get a lot of competition. And again, I didn't realize it until literally I entered, college. And I think guys like you being able to deliver that message to these kids and really, again, come back to motivating them, educating guys based on routine, I think pays dividends, because you're spot on. Like, if you guys lay out their goals for that week and try to work to live by going to bed by 9:30, having a proper meal plan, again, the conversations that they're even having with other people to make them even better people, I think they'll really see the difference, and especially learn at a young age. Again, it can just pay dividends for their future too. It's pretty cool.
And it's pretty hard too. Like that first week, it's phenomenal. I went to bed on time. Yeah. Oh, I ate my chicken and it was great. And then a month later, we're back to eating McDonald's and going to bed at midnight and using my phone until I go to bed. And again, like, how can we stick to those? And how can we develop strategies to maximize those things?
And that's the same thing you're talking about, the honeymoon phase of the season, is once you get past that week of, this is awesome. Like, I'm so happy to be here. Like, everything is going right. I'm eating, I'm sleeping. Like, can you consistently do it? Can you consistently make goals for yourself, push past that week mark, and do it consistently on a daily basis, and maximize your time in training?
Yeah, and I think to kind of keep pushing us along here, like, what are the differences between your off season and then your in season? Because I do think kids, as they come in from such a high of feeling so good, coming off that summer grind, if you may, they're entering late August, the training camp and everything, they hit in the ice. And then the in-season training comes in, because now things flip-flop, because you were in the gym, 5-6 times a week, probably on the ice, 2-3 times a week, and then your season hits and you're on the ice every day, and your body just can't keep up with the double sessions and all that stuff. So I think if you could just touch on, I think, how many times a week suggested you should be training, the amount of hours per day in the off season, and then starting to kind of segue into your in season too.
First, touching on kids who work very hard in the off season and then just don't keep it up in the in season. I see that way more often than people would think, and just the importance of getting in the weight room and keeping all the strength and speed and power adaptations you built so hard in the summertime. I think 2 to 3 times a week for 45 minutes to an hour is more than enough. And it doesn't always have to be the heavy lifting. It needs to be a mix of everything. Like we need to do some mobility training. We need to limit non-contact injuries. So what that means is in the weight room, we're not putting so much weight on the bar that we're going to hurt ourselves. Limiting soft tissue injuries and managing that the best we can. If somebody comes in with some aching pains, how can we address that? If they can't get under the bar that day, how can we make a new plan to help them keep on with their goals? And in terms of in-season training, in the beginning of in-season, when they're coming off the off-season, again, a lot of strength in the off-season, keeping it a small blend. So as we go in the beginning of the in-season, a little bit more strength, and as we bleed towards that competition or those later phases where we're getting pretty beat up from the season and things are kind of hurting, a little more speed and power for a few different reasons that we're not going to touch on today, but that's the protocol I follow. And then once that in-season's done, take a week or two, let the body heal, hydrate, move around, get outside, and then once that off season comes, hit it hard. A lot of strength, the volume's higher, the intensity's higher, and again, developing adaptations. And adaptations don't come easily, and that's another piece of mental toughness. Like, can I come to the gym knowing it's going to be hard? Yes, it's going to be hard, but it's going to be worth it in the end. And things like conditioning. Kids like, conditioning, but that's arguably more important than the strength training. Like, how can your heart function? Like when you're playing hockey, the heart rate's elevated, and how our heart is a muscle too, and it expands and it contracts. And how much can it expand, and like how much can it contract? And the more blood it fills up and the faster it gets out, the more aerobically fit we become, and then that has a huge carryover into our strength training. So in the off season, that aerobic is a big component that isn't so much there in the in season, because that aerobic is the practice times.
Yeah. For an athlete in the summer, like, do you see a decline if you're doing hour sessions? Like, do you see a decline if they're doing multiple hour sessions in a day? Like, if they really want to grind hard, like, do you see a decline if you were to do, let's say, like 3 hours instead of an hour?
Well, that's tough when some kids, they want it so bad, they'll do anything to get it. And I love that mentality, but we need to have a smarter mentality. So we can do 2-hour sessions, but not going to be 2 strength sessions. Yeah. Like, can I do a conditioning and a strength, a conditioning or a recovery, and having a blend of both? Like you touched upon your time in Arizona, and like you did twice a day and you got huge results, but I'm sure you weren't smashing 2 strengths every single day. It was a really good blend. And how does that blend go into our overall plan, and how can we plan it out to reach a specific goal at a specific time?
Yeah.
And so would your recommendation for kids in the off season, what would be, a block, from the time that they stop playing hockey? So we're hockey players here. So what would be like a suggested, 6, 8, 10 week block, and how many times a week do you think would be suggested?
If they're a spring sport athlete, which I hope kids are, probably end around June time, and then taking all June, July, and August. So a cool 12-week block. We normally base it down into 4-week blocks. So there's 4 and like 3 blocks, specific, like working on different things to maximize other adaptations. And talking about how many times per week, call it 3 to 5. If we're newer, maybe a bit less, but if we're a little bit older, higher training age, we need to do a little bit more to get more of a response. So if I'm newer, maybe only my training age is a year, that's different than a 4-year person. And when we see kids at MB Sports come in from the summertime, again, like that newer kid, 2 to 3, and then that more experienced kids, I want you to do 3 strength training sessions and 2 conditioning sessions in a week.
Cool, love that. And then we talked a little bit too, just prior to this, is like the weekend warrior effect. So you work so hard Monday through Friday, make all these gains, and then the weekend. Like what should kids be doing throughout the weekend to kind of make sure they're ready for Monday?
Normally kids have a lot of time on the weekends, and like the weekend comes and I have time to relax, lay down on their bed, my buddies are over, let's make some bad choices, and it feels good because I'm with my buddies, but you come in on Monday and like, that workout was tougher than it usually is on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So making a strategy, already know what you're going to eat, already know what you're going to do. If it's a nice day outside, just get outside. Short sleeves and t-shirt, the body craves vitamin D. again, like having your meals prepared, knowing what you're going to eat for breakfast, knowing what's ahead for lunch and dinner. Again, we see it all the time in adults, those weekend warriors, and the gains and the benefits are few and far between because they're not consistent. You need to have consistency. The body and the brain crave consistency. So having that for weeks and then months, you'll just see tremendous more gains than you would if you don't keep it on the weekends.
Yeah, well said. And I think for your off-season training and kids that are players or men, women that are thinking about having new goals throughout the summer, I really just it transformed me as an athlete. I was 6'2". I had good hands. I could skate, but my speed wasn't there to keep up with the smaller guys, or there was bigger guys my size or bigger, that could fly, that were more mobile than me, and. It wasn't until I realized I got into really the deep waters of all these unreal players around me that I was like at the low end of the totem pole here, and I had to keep it to my training. My first 3 steps were slow. How do I pick up my speed, and dedicating my time in the weight room? It paid dividends to get rolling here.
Getting on the turf too. We think about off-season training. We think about the back squat. We think about the deadlift, and we need to get in the field a little bit too. We need to sprint, jump around. In terms of kids that are thinking about getting on the field, a short to long approach. Like start off short sprints, gradually get longer, gradually introduce more of it as you get farther along. Like having things be more complex. So if I'm doing a jump, have like 2 jumps in a row or like 3 jumps in a row. I want to get more advanced. So getting on the field, getting on the turf, and you could bring a buddy too. So if we all 3 of us go to the turf, we can do our workout and then play a game after. And the game is kind of the workout too. Our heart rate's elevated. There's a skill component to it, but it's kind of like fun. Yeah. And the workout doesn't always need to be work. It should be fun.
Yeah, awesome, man. Great advice. And then I'm going to start training now.
I'm about to go outside and go for a run.
Yeah. And then getting into it too, we're talking a lot about these off season and making these huge gains. How do you track progress and sitting down with athletes or a group, aligning their goals, talking about goals as well too? If you could touch on that.
MB Sports Training, where I work, we use an app called Team Builder, and it's very easy for the kids to go in and track what they do. You open up your phone and you open up the app, and there's automatically your workout. It says barbell back squat. You put in your numbers. It already has a set repetition for you. Most time, it already has a set weight for you, and that's a lot of back end work on mine. So Brody's coming in. I'm making sure Brody's numbers are in Team Builder. I'm checking with him as he's going through that numbers are in Team Builder. Actually, conversation we had last night, Brody, making sure you put your stuff in Team Builder. Yeah. So again, that's an easy way to track progress. And then I can go on Team Builder's website. I can print out a report, and it's again like a lot of simple graphs, but I can see a linear line going from their squat was 100 pounds, now it's 200 pounds. And if I can see that, there is actual trackable progress that I can show to the coach now, and the coach like, hey, my program is actually working pretty well, and Brody got stronger, and he got more powerful, and he got faster. If you don't have access to an app like that, simple pen and paper is more than fine. A big thing too is doing the same things consistently over and over and over. Kids get on their phone on Instagram and TikTok and they see dudes doing cool stuff. Yeah. If we're training a back squat and we have 4 weeks of a back squat, and say I'm uncoached and I go to the weight room, I'm like, I'm gonna train back squat, I'm gonna get stronger. And I do my back squat week 1, and then I'm like, I saw this jack guy doing front squats, I'm gonna do front squats. And how are we can't track things if we're not doing the same thing over and over. So if you don't have access to an application, pen and paper, just my advice would be pick a few things and get better at those things week to week.
Yeah, and so many kids too. We were talking about before too, as well. There's summer goals. I want to gain 15 pounds, or if you're on the other end, I need to lose 15 pounds. And getting back to the consistency, sticking with that plan, I think is enormous in their growth. Do you deal with a lot of kids that want weight gain, and maybe some suggestions how they get to that point?
Absolutely. Every kid wants to come in and gain some weight. They don't want to get tossed around. And kids have it in their mind like that 15-pound number. If I hit that 15 pounds, either like I'm done, or I've made it, or like what's next. And like having those like set numbers, like good to have like being goal oriented, but like really is gaining 15 pounds going to make you the best hockey player available? And if it's yes, that's great. But most of the time, I don't think so. We need to train smart. We need to train hard. We need to have trackable progress. We need to make sure we're doing all the things we can be. I like to always say, Practice doesn't make perfect, but perfect practice makes perfect. So coming in and not being fixated on this arbitrary number that doesn't mean much. And like, why is 15 better than 16 or like 14? So where'd that 15 come from? And I understand you want to gain weight. We can gain weight if we work harder on our strength training, if you're eating the right thing.
Right.
And again, like kids who want to gain 15, they're just shoving stuff in their mouth.
Yeah.
And again, we're going to talk about nutrition, but is like eating McDonald's post-workout better than just having a post-workout shake?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember it was one former player I had. He's like, I really want to gain, 15 pounds over the summer. And he thought he's like, I want to be heavier on pucks and not get knocked off my feet. And he spent a lot of time. It was like Big Whop or something in Arizona, and he gained the wrong type of weight.
Yeah.
And just having that strength and that routine, I think is monstrous. And digging into nutrition, how important is nutrition to these young athletes?
Food is fuel. You are what you eat. With that, if you want to go fill up your car, you want to put good quality gas in it. If you just put some sludge in there, you're not going to get to where you need to go. We want to be machines. Again, like you want to compete at a high level, Brody, you got to always make sure you're supplementing and eating good food.
Yep.
With that, like building a meal, we want to start with a protein base. Protein is usually the hardest one to come by, but usually the one that's most important. So having like a center point being the protein, a protein would be like a meat, a fish, an egg, a yogurt, a protein powder, and a tofu. And then working your way out from there. If I was going to give some suggested guidelines, I like to say a gram of protein per body weight a day, carbs, 1 to 1.5 grams of body weight a day, and fat, 0.5 gram of body weight a day. And those are just really simple guidelines, and those are working absolutely fantastic. If you are gaining weight, maybe take the fats and carbs down in an equal dose. If you're losing weight, take the carb and fat up in equal dose. I wouldn't really mess with the protein too much. Those fats and carbs do the same thing, but differently. Carbohydrates are those fast, instantaneous sources, but fats are more of a long duration. So if you want to go for a long run, probably want to eat more of a fat. If I want, like a hockey player, I'm really fast, I'm moving fast, very power based, more of a carbohydrate. And with that, vegetables. Something I always say when kids are leaving, I need you to do me a huge favor and like really hype it up. And I need you to eat one vegetable for the rest of the day. And the kid's like, oh. And now getting on more serious, having about 4 to 5 servings a day, and that's a lot. We should be having a fat, carb, protein, and a veggie per meal with a big glass of water. Not a fan of like the sodas, not a fan of like a whole bunch of stuff. Like just drink your water.
Yeah.
It doesn't taste like anything. Okay, like water doesn't taste good. What are you talking about? Just drink the water. It's not too hard, and kids like the taste, but you like it. It doesn't make a big difference if you like it or not. Just drink the water. So if you follow those guidelines, and again, just being smart about it. If you want to make serious changes, you need to be serious about your habits.
And after guys that in our program, they train and they skate a lot, and so after they skate and train, would you recommend whether any protein based or recovery shake or that type of thing that they should slam right after they skate or train just to kind of meet that window so they're not getting out of the rink and then it's an hour and a half, 2 hours later, and then all of a sudden they decide to eat dinner?
Like especially like when you have back-to-back skates, like there's like a little time gap. For last year we had like a 15-minute break in between. Like should we take shakes or protein bars or something just to have a little bit of nutrition right before we go out?
Absolutely. Keeping it simple, like shakes and bars. It's so convenient and like already being prepared. So Brody, you have your skate and then a lift right after.
Yeah. You
want to have your bar ready in your stall. You want to have your shake ready in your fridge. So already being one step ahead. And I think those are great for the protein. Protein keeps us full, rebuilds our muscles. Carbohydrates, fast acting energy sources. And normally protein powders have a base of protein and a base of carbs, so it hits those two birds with one stone. If you want to gain some weight, add some milk. Stay the same, lose some weight, add some water. So I think that's hugely important that in between having a recovery drink, and even after a lift, like getting it as soon as humanly possible. That window of opportunity is hugely important, and as soon as you can get it in, the faster you can get it in, the better our response will be.
Yeah, and leading into the next one really is rest and recovery. So guys are training, certainly in off season and they're in season and really want to maximize their body. I mean, how important do you feel that rest and recovery is, and any tips or good habits that these young athletes can really work to build into their routine?
Absolutely. Kind of like the unsung hero of everything, like that rest and recovery. We work so hard in the weight room, but when we sleep is really when we reap all those benefits. Yeah. As we sleep, we produce HGH, or human growth hormone. And it's like, whoa, human growth hormone? Well, we can get it by sleeping more. And if I want to get better, I just need to sleep. And like having better strategies around that. If I sleep better, my benefits will be like sharper concentration, better decision making, and who doesn't want that? And like better memory. And again, just like those things, like I want those, so why don't you just sleep more? And in terms of ways to make your sleep better, earplugs, dark room, being in a cold room, having a bedtime routine. For me, I always take a hot shower. I put some music on, like instrumental, something nice and soothing. I get my foam roll, do some stretches, kind of whatever I'm feeling that day, nothing too specific, and then I get in bed. And like having a routine like that just sets me up. No phone half hour before bed, put my sleep mode on my phone, put my earplugs in, do a couple of deep breathing drills, and you're off. And like getting in that routine and that habit is hugely important. It's okay if you do it one time, but what if you do it twice in a row? 3 times, 4 times, and now you're seeing some serious progress, and we're all chasing that progress.
Yeah, and I also too, when I was in college, we used to have post-workout recovery sessions. Mm-hmm. So we used to play a game. We played like BU or Maine, and you're exhausted. And I remember our strength coach we'd have like 10, 15 minutes of post speeches from the coaches. You have to gear down, and then you're in the weight room. And then you're like, what are we doing here? But it was just part of your recovery, for the next game, next competition, or even your rest day too. Can you touch on pre warm up, and then also post recovery after a game too? That I think kids may not even realize how important it is.
Absolutely. In terms of like a pre-competition event, what I want to suggest is something that gets our heart rate up, something that gets our nervous system firing. Things like jump. Like if I am like kind of relaxing and I want to get really fired up, just do 10 squat jumps in a row. I start sweating a little bit, and then my blood's flowing, and there I am. So then I want that pre-competition, something where more explosive, ballistic, intense. Then I move right into my game where, again, it's explosive, intense, and competitive. When we want to cool down, we want to shift our nervous tone. And what I mean by that is we're really excited, and then I really want to calm down. Right. A lot of time with hockey players, we get really excited and we stay really excited. And if you ever heard of fight or flight versus rest and digest, that fight or flight is one half of our nervous system, our sympathetic nervous system. And if we don't get off from there, it can cause some serious health detriments. But after your event, you come in, you stretch, more of like a 60-second stretch per side, or like a deep breathing, and that really shifts our nervous tone. Like holding a stretch position, doing some deep breathing really shifts that tone from that fight or flight to that rest and digest. And when we're in that fight or flight, our brain has objectives it needs to hit. It's like, I need to be fast, explosive. I need to do certain things. I need to circulate blood really fast. But then I want to come down from that, and I want to slow my heart rate down. Right. I want to breathe normally. I want to think different thoughts, and I want to recover now. And so I think those getting off the ice, having a formula already set in your bag, formulaing really easily, doing a few stretches and that your coach told you to do is hugely important. And if you want to take that next step, you need to be dialed in with those small intricacies.
Yeah, I think I know I battle, and certainly when you have to build a new team, in the beginning of the year, or obviously getting your kids to create new habits, and it's just like the pregame warm up is huge. And, I don't think kids or athletes really understands getting their machine warm, ready, mentally getting dialed in. It just shows huge importance. And again, you play on Saturday night, or play on Friday, you're going to be playing on Saturday. That post-recovery also plays significance in being ready for the next day of competition too.
I always say train hard but recover harder.
Yeah.
And for stretching, I know I've had this question multiple times in my brain. Haven't really asked it, but like you have your dynamic stretching, and then you have your like high knees and all that stuff. Like, do you do the like butterfly stretches after you do
Good question.
your dynamic like high knees thing, or do you do it before you do that? Because I've heard that like if you do your high knees, you're getting your blood warm, and then you do your stretches because you're warm and you don't want to like tear something.
Think of it more like a mobility drill. So like say hockey players notoriously like stiff hips. I want to come in and just start moving muscles around. I don't want to hold a static pose for too long before like I go do a dynamic event like that.
Yeah.
Because my muscles in a pre-stretch position, and now I'm contracting and stretching it in a very fast motion, and it's not a good idea. So you want to come in, do some hip mobility drills, spine mobility drills, anything like that, and then start going slowly into some more dynamic stuff. And those butterfly poses are best served post-event.
Yeah, well said. I think that is a great question, because there's so many kids I see them, that are literally just kind of static stretching, kind of laying around, and I'm like, whoa, man, and I think Chief, even the chronological order of how to get your body warmed up.
Yeah,
certainly.
I think people just aren't educated enough on that, because stretching before games like almost as important as the game, because you have to get your body ready for battle.
Exactly. And you guys came up and warmed up in our facility a few times.
Yep.
And you weren't coached by me, so I'm not going to go over and like pick you guys apart. But again, like guys like hanging around, like chitter chat, and some guys playing the soccer ball, and that's great. Like they're getting the mentality there. But like, is your body being prepared enough for this event? And like you guys pretty high level, and you need to be at your best all the time in order to win.
Great advice. So we're wrapping up here, Kevin, but is there anything else? We know we went over a lot here, and hopefully our listeners really able to pick up on quite a few tips. Is there anything else that you'd like to kind of last comments just on strength training and tips for the summer?
Yeah, just don't make it more than it needs to be. Simple is always better. Sometimes kids, again, look on Instagram and TikTok, and they see so many things, and it's a little bit paralysis by analysis. So if you always want to contact a strength and conditioning coach, I'm the guy you want to call. MB Sports Training, it's located in the North Ice Pavilion. Myself and Mike Bouchard. Mike Bouchard is the owner. I am the training director. And if you want to reach us, our emails are mbouch at mbsports with no o.com. My email, kcoyle at mbsports no o.com. And if you just Google us, information's on the website. We'd love to have you. Our summer programs start the first week of June. We're going to run those 3 months, June, July, August. We have a set strength and conditioning program all ready to go. I'm ready to lead the guys into the fight. I know Brody's going to be there with me.
Oh, yeah, you bet.
And again, we offer daily classes. We offer adult classes. So if your kid's coming in, your kid loves it, I'd love to see the parents too.
Yeah, awesome. And we'll make sure to put that, the details on the page as well too, so our viewers can find you guys and get to it, because I know you guys really help shape people's bodies, their minds, and certainly help their careers too. It's really impactful what you guys do, and certainly you too, Kevin, and what you bring.
Absolutely. And I want to thank you guys for having me on. I want to thank all the athletes up to this point that made me a better coach, and I made them better. I want to thank all the athletes that are currently under me, like you, Brody, that always make me better and push me to be the best coach I can every day. And to all the future athletes, I'm really looking forward to see you guys and making you guys the best athletes you possibly can.
Cool.
Well said.
Yeah. Well, thank you again. And then, that's a wrap for us here.
Yeah.
And we'll be coming back next week here, talking about health and wellness. A little bit more of a mental approach too. So thank you again, and outstanding. I learned a lot personally too.
Thank you for all the stretching tips as well.
Awesome,
that was really important. All right, guys. See you guys later.
Bye.